Imagine a man with superhuman strength, capable of defeating armies single-handedly and toppling temples with his bare hands. Now, imagine this same man betrayed by love, blinded by his enemies, and yet achieving his greatest victory in his final defeat. Welcome to our channel. Today we dive into the epic story of Samson, the warrior chosen by God, the strongest man in the Bible, whose life is a roller coaster of glorious triumphs and devastating failures. Get ready for a journey of power, passion, and redemption. Shall we begin? To better understand Samson's story, it is essential to place it within the period of the Judges, a turbulent era in Israel's history. This period was characterized by cycles of apostasy, oppression, and liberation, where charismatic leaders emerged to guide the people. Samson, a man of mysterious origin, was born at a critical moment during this period when the Israelites were under intense oppression from the Philistines. His arrival in the world was announced by an angel of the Lord, who proclaimed his divine mission to liberate Israel from the clutches of their enemies. From his mother's womb, Samson was consecrated as a Nazirite, a special status of dedication to God. This vow included three main restrictions: not cutting his hair, not drinking wine or other fermented beverages, and not touching corpses. These practices symbolized a separation for sacred purposes and were fundamental to Samson's strength and calling. Thus, his childhood was marked by extraordinary signs of strength and power, indicating that he was destined to be an exceptional leader. Samson's story begins amidst a nation oppressed and hopeless, crying out for divine intervention to restore their freedom and dignity. The Philistines, central antagonists of this narrative, were an ancient and powerful civilization established in the coastal territory of Canaan, between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River. Known as the Sea Peoples, they dominated the region with their advanced technology, especially in the use of iron in weapons and tools. The Philistine society was organized into a confederation of 5 main city-states: Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Gath, and Ekron. Each was governed by a leader called Seren in Hebrew, often translated as tyrant or lord. This decentralized political structure allowed for flexibility, but could also lead to internal conflicts. Their imposing and aggressive presence posed a constant threat to the Israelites, who struggled to resist oppression and maintain their cultural and religious identity. The conflict between the Israelites and Philistines was not only military but also cultural and religious, representing a clash between different worldviews and belief systems. The Philistines were known for their rich mythology and complex religious system, which influenced all aspects of their lives. Dagon, one of the principal Philistine gods, was depicted as a hybrid deity with a human body and a fishtail, symbolizing the connection between the terrestrial and aquatic worlds. His worship involved elaborate rituals and sacrifices in grand temples dedicated to him. Astarte, the goddess of fertility and love, was revered as the protector of life and prosperity, worshipped in festive ceremonies with dances and offerings. Baal, the god of storms and agricultural fertility, was invoked to ensure abundant harvests and victories in battles. Philistine cities house majestic temples dedicated to these deities, where priests conducted ceremonies to appease the gods and ensure the people's well-being. These religious centers also served as important political and social hubs, reinforcing the Philistine power structure. Samson was born amidst an atmosphere of mystery and profound significance. His origin was marked by supernatural events and divine announcements that foreshadowed his special mission. His father, Manoah, a man from the tribe of Dan, and his mother, a woman who had been barren until then, were blessed with the promise of a son who would be dedicated to God from the womb. The angel of the Lord appeared to his mother with specific instructions on how to raise the boy, including dietary and behavioral restrictions reflecting Samson's special consecration as a Nazirite. This miraculous birth echoed other important births in biblical tradition, such as those of Samuel and John the Baptist, emphasizing Samson's importance in the divine plan. Endowed with unwavering determination and unparalleled courage, Samson faced the Philistines with bravery and audacity. His superhuman strength was a mystery to his enemies, who saw in him a formidable challenge. Each battle against the Philistines was marked by extraordinary feats, where Samson emerged as a true hero, inspiring his people and instilling fear in the hearts of their oppressors. His exploits were not merely demonstrations of physical strength, but also symbolized Israel's struggle against oppression and idolatry. Samson's fearlessness in the face of adversity and his strategic prowess made him a living legend among the Israelites, a symbol of resistance and hope in the fight for their nation's liberation. When Samson encountered the stunning beauty of a Philistine woman in Timnah, he found himself engulfed in a whirlwind of emotions. This episode illustrates Samson's internal conflict between his divine calling and personal desires. The overwhelming passion that consumed him was like a fire burning in his chest, challenging the conventions and taboos of the time. Despite warnings from his parents and the disapproval of the community, Samson persisted in his desire to unite with the woman who stirred his soul. Love, at first sight, led him to challenge the social and religious norms governing relationships between Israelites and Philistines. Samson's choice revealed not only his vulnerability to carnal temptations, but also his determination to follow his heart, even if it meant facing the consequences of his impulsive actions. After the betrayal by his wife, Samson, consumed by pain and anger, decided to take devastating revenge on the Philistines. He captured 300 foxes, tied them tail to tail in pairs, and attached a torch between each pair. Then he released the foxes into the Philistines' wheat fields, setting them on fire and destroying a large part of their harvest. This act of retaliation, though creative, demonstrates Samson's impulsiveness and his tendency to act on emotion. The vengeance triggered a cycle of violence with tragic consequences, not only for the Philistines, but also for Samson and his family. In a cruel act of retaliation, the Philistines captured and executed Samson's wife and his father. Faced with this personal tragedy, Samson vowed relentless revenge against his enemies, promising not to rest until he had avenged the deaths of his loved ones. After years of struggles and sacrifices, Samson found himself a prisoner, blind and weakened, subjected to the humiliation and scorn of the Philistines. This situation represented not only a physical defeat, but also a moment of deep spiritual reflection for Samson. However, amidst the darkness of his cell, a flame of determination still burned in his heart. Confined to a life of servitude and suffering, he yearned for one last opportunity for redemption. It was during a grand festival in honor of the god Dagon, where Philistine leaders gathered to celebrate their supposed victory over Samson, that the hero's fate took an unexpected turn. Summoned to entertain the crowd with his misfortunes, Samson saw in this moment the final chance to fulfill his divine calling. In an act of faith and courage, he called upon the Lord for renewed strength to perform one last heroic deed that would change the course of history. Leaning on the central pillars that supported the pagan temple, Samson summoned all his determination and remaining power to bring down the building upon himself and the Philistine leaders present. The impact was overwhelming, causing the temple to collapse and resulting in the deaths of not only Israel's oppressors, but also Samson himself. Samson's end is both tragic and heroic. By sacrificing his own life, he not only defeats Israel's enemies, but also redeems his life's mission. Thus, even in his final sacrifice, Samson fulfilled his role as the liberator of his people and became an eternal symbol of courage and redemption. What aspects of Samson's life touched you the most? How can we apply these lessons in our daily lives? Leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you very much for following Samson's incredible journey. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, check out the next video that will appear on the screen. See you in the next video.